What's going on, guys? Andrew Piluk Hockey here. I'm back, and as you can see by the title, I'm going to be trying to predict the Toronto Maple Leafs opening night roster for this upcoming season. Now, this is the first crack that I'll take at this. Later on in the season, later on in the off season, maybe early September, I may make another video just to see where we're at with maybe trades or signings, whatever happens. But this is my first crack at it. So before I start this video, if you're new, please subscribe. I'd love to have more hockey conversations with you. And also, throughout this video, if you guys are watching it and you're thinking about different line combinations and stuff like that, be sure to comment on this video with your line combinations. And if you guys would like to see me do another team, be sure to do that. But this is, of course, my team, the Toronto Maple Leafs, and I'd love to see you guys comment to see who you guys think will be on lines together and who will be starting on opening night, because you never know. Like I said, this isn't set in stone. This isn't who's going to make the team and what's going to happen. This is just my prediction, and I want to hear what you guys have to think as well. So yeah, make sure to comment and with your predictions. Now I'm going to try to post it up somewhere on the screen. Somehow I'm going to figure out how to get this on the screen as well while I'm mentioning it. So as we all know, the Leafs had a fantastic season last year, last season that everybody, wasn't really counting on at the beginning of last season. And they proved a lot of people wrong and took some steps. And now it's like there's a bit of a, problem. It's a good problem, though. There's a lot of forwards that could make this lineup, and there's not a lot of spots. So this, was a little tough, to be honest with you, because there's some guys that I'd like to have in the lineup that may not even make the lineup. And obviously, my list could be completely wrong. So let's take a look at who I think will be on line one, and I think a lot of these guys are kind of set in stone, but the first line is probably going to be Marleau, Matthews, and Nylander. So obviously the newly acquired Patrick Marleau, they want to try him with Austin Matthews, which means Hyman will go down a bit in the lines here, but that's okay. Marleau's going to have to start with Matthews, and I think that that's a good option, and him and Matthews and Nylander have a great connection, of course, so they have to stay together. On line two, James Van Riemsdyk, Tyler Bozak, and Mitch Marner. And again, a lot of people could argue Kadri could move up, but at the same time, I like the way that the three of those guys play together. The only knock that everybody has on them is the fact that JVR, Bozak, and Marner aren't really the greatest defensively as a whole. I think Marner is a pretty good defensive player, as we've seen when he skated down Ovi and stole the puck from him, basically. So I think he's okay defensively, but when you get two other guys who aren't as great defensively, it kind of defeats the purpose. And I think that, but offensively, they have to stay together because they were so good. Third line would be Komarov, Kadri, and Brown. Again, another line that not only will hit you real hard, but they've got a lot of scoring touch. Komarov can score 10 to 15 goals. Kadri, of course, scored 30. I expect him to be somewhere around there. And Brown, 20 goals. He could drop off to about 12 or 15 this year, which obviously isn't too bad of a problem to have, because there's a lot of other people that can pick up for that. Last year, this was a line that I really like to watch because, again, they can hit and they can score. So that's a good line combination for me. And this fourth line, a lot of people may disagree with because I actually have Matt Martin not on this team. And I don't know. Zach Hyman, Dominic Moore, and Kasperi Kapanen would be my fourth line. That's a lot of speed, that's a lot of skill, and a lot of grit. Dominic Moore is very fast. Same with a guy like Zach Hyman. Kapanen is pretty quick as well, so that's a really fast line. A lot of skill with Kapanen, and Moore and Hyman obviously have their spots, but they're not overly offensive. But those two can get the puck to Kapanen, and he's going to score. And I think Dominic Moore and Zach Hyman, it's not wrong to think that both of them could score 10 goals apiece. Some could argue that Hyman could score 15. So you never know how that could work, which means my extra forwards would be Matt Martin, Eric Fair, Nikita Soshnikov, and Josh Levo, and I'm probably even missing something here, but that's just off the top of my head what I wrote down, and who I think is going to be the extras on this team, because realistically, where does Matt Martin fit in here? Because Kapanen, I think, has proved that he can play on this team. The only way that both of them are in the lineup is if JVR gets traded or if a Komarov trade happens, but I think that Komarov is pretty valuable to this team. And also, this is assuming Brown gets his RFA deal done, but I'm pretty sure he'll be locked up. I think there's probably a deal in principle already, but a guy like Soshnikov, I think, has a pretty elite shot. well, maybe not elite, but NHL ready shot, and Josh Levo as well. It's tough for me to even leave these guys out. Okay, the focus is still there. Sorry, guys. I'm really trying to work on that. Eric Fair, just good center depth, but he could be moved as well. But again, these guys are all extras that I believe could make the team if there wasn't so much depth on this team. Fair, yeah, you can live with him being in the press box, even though he's got a bit of money attached to him. But Levo, Soshnikov, and even Martin, it's a little tough. Maybe not with Martin so much, but Soshnikov, yeah, you could see him being on the fourth line. Levo is a guy that people could argue could be on the third line on some NHL teams, because I personally think that Levo could score 20 goals. And I think that a lot of people would agree, because he does have a great shot. So that's a little tough. The forward thing is going to get mixed up a little bit, and like I said, this is my first crack at the forwards. On defense, you're probably going to have Morgan Rielly with the newly acquired Ron Hainsey. And that's okay with me, because then Rielly will have a little bit more freedom to go and do his thing. Jake Gardiner and Nikita Zaitsev, you know, Zaitsev could use a little more work. Gardiner has gotten a little better under Babcock's system, but I'm a huge fan of Nikita Zaitsev, and I think he's only going to get better. And then on the third pairing, I have Carrick, and a lot of people are probably going to say Dermott, but I'm going to go with Nielsen. I think that he's going to surprise a lot of people. I was going to say shock a lot of people, but Dermott's another guy I wouldn't have a problem making the team. The extras for me would be Dermott, Borgman, Rosen, and Marincin. I don't really want to see Marincin. The two new Swedish defensemen are probably going to play with the Marlies, and Liljegren, making that three Swedish defensemen, are probably all going to be with the Marlies, in my opinion. Dermott, I think, is a guy who could get called up later in the season if, you know, something happens with Nielsen, or if Nielsen doesn't work out, or maybe Carrick for some reason isn't playing good, or an injury comes around. I think those guys have a shot. Borgman and Rosen are another two that could easily step in if something happened, in my opinion, again. But Marincin, I don't really want to play him, to be honest. And Marchenko was a guy I had, you know, kind of as like a backup, but he's gone now. I think he's back in the KHL. So defensive-wise, I think that it's pretty much locked up except for that one spot. And a lot of people are even saying Liljegren could sneak in there, but that's a long shot for me. I think Nielsen is a guy that could step in and actually do the job. And I don't know if a lot of people will agree with me. He is young, I believe. What is he, 20 or 21 years old? But he's a big guy. I think that he could handle it. But again, Dermott could be the guy that steps in. In goal, obviously, Frederick Anderson and Curtis McElhaney. And then your extra goaltender is Garrett Sparks. That will be with the Marlies. And Kasimir Kaskisuo, I don't know if I even said that name right. He's got a crazy long name. But those are my picks. Now, like I said, with the forwards, it will be tough because of the depth with this team. There's a lot of players that could be guys that could make this team, and I want to see what you guys think about this, because I think the first line there is pretty much a lock. I don't know if they're ever going to use Marleau with anybody else, because I think he was brought in to help Matthews as well, and Matthews to help him, and vice versa, and Nylander. That's a good line. The JVR Bozak Marner line could be a line that gets mixed around a little bit if something happens defensively that they're not looking too good. They could put a guy like Kadri in the middle there and move Bozak down. But again, it's all about chemistry. If there's a lot of goal scoring happening and they're winning, then it doesn't really matter. It sucks to say, because I love the defensive side of the game, but if they're winning games and Freddie Anderson's at least keeping them in the game, you know, 6-3 games or 5-3 games or whatever like that, and you know, the occasional 2-1 game here, but they look terrible defensively, it's not going to matter as long as they win and the pucks are going in the net. And that sounds so ridiculous, but at the same time, if they're winning, it doesn't really matter. Also, on defense, again, Nielsen, I think for me personally, is going to step in there, but again, it could be Travis Dermott. I want to know what you guys think about this lineup. Again, I'm looking down because I have all the sheet here of who I think is going to make the team. And is there going to be another trade for a defenseman and shake this up? Because their top six could use some work. Their defensive core could really use some work. But again, they do have a lot of prospects that are actually pretty good now. The Leafs have upgraded a little bit. But the here and now, maybe they upgrade it and see what they can do. But let me know what you guys think, if they're going to make any sort of upgrade. The only thing I could see happening is a JVR trade, and that can move around the lines. But I personally wouldn't trade JVR in a year that you're really, you know, making a push to at least make a deep playoff run, and you never know what could happen. So let me know what you guys think. I want to hear what you guys have for line combinations. And yeah, if you're new, please subscribe to the channel. I'd love to have more hockey conversations with you. I will see you in the next video. Peace.